Zach Crotty, thanks for hopping on. We've been chatting for like at least almost 2 years now, a year and a half.
Pretty on and off, but yeah.
So you're in Florida and you run what? How many guys do you have on your solar team?
So middle of the year, we were sitting at about 50. End of the year comes around, a little bit less. So we're about 20 now.
Okay. So about 20. And you've been doing door to door for how long?
Door to door now should be 4 years in April.
Wow. And you're how old?
27 now.
Okay, there you go. So basically, I'm like the same way, like never had a real job, or did you ever start with anything else?
Yeah, I guess I'll hop into just the story in general, but I went to college for lacrosse, played all 4 years, and I did my graduate year at the same school, got my master's paid for, did medical device sales right out of college.
Okay.
I thought that was like the end all be all. I mean, it was a great job, but I don't know why, but we used to cover cases. You'd be in the operating room all day. So pretty like high pressure scenarios.
Yeah, my girlfriend's in the operating room as a nurse, so she sees like that side of it for sure.
Yeah. And then like I remember one of my higher ups or one of my coworkers, you're new, so you get all the crappy cases. He sent me to like a knee scope, and he was like, yeah, it's just not a good return on my time, like not a good return on my investment. And that kind of stuck with me. I was like, damn, like, so I'm the guy who gets the shitty return on his investment, because you're getting hazed the whole first year, which is fine. But that stuck with me. And I was like, okay, well, as I went on, like, well, I'm making this amount of money. This is how much time I'm putting in. And then I just saw something on Instagram, which led me to door, as most of us do, somebody posting a big check or something like that. I'm like, well, if I could put in the same amount of hours and get paid more, why not?
Right. That's so crazy, because I found it from social media too. I feel like most people found it from just like, oh, my friend did it, and then I thought if he could do it, why couldn't I? Which is like so true. It's how most of it starts. But I didn't realize that. I didn't know you started in medical sales or anything like that. So you did your full college route, same as I did. I didn't find it till the end of college, but if I found it earlier, I probably wouldn't have finished. So I always think about that. Like if I found it when I was 19 or 18 instead of 21 or 22.
Yeah. If you had to go back in time, you think you would do college over again, or you think you'd hop right into it?
I don't regret it at all. Like I'm glad, I think everything happens for a reason. I'm glad I found it when I did, because I had so many great friendships, network, memories. Like college was awesome. Like I loved college, honestly. But like the mindset I think of now of what I got out of college was the memories, not like the paying for education. Like if the opportunity presented itself earlier and I had the same mindset, I'd probably be a few years ahead. But it's like I wouldn't change still anyway.
I feel the same way. You almost you don't want to say you would skip college, and it's nothing to do with the classes that you took. It's all about the memories and experiences.
Yeah, exactly. Fraternity and just like, I don't know, everything else. But that's cool. So I guess to highlight the success too, real quick, and we'll get into it, like 4 years, I don't even know what the title, everyone has all these different titles with teams, but you've been running a team for a while. You're an area director, manager, regional, what is it?
They call it like a senior director, but long story short, we ran a team that was doing, for the entire year, consistently above 70 accounts a month. We had a couple months where we were almost 120 accounts a month.
Jeez. So to equate that to people that don't know, about 100 accounts a month, how much in revenue? Because solar, I guess revenue is way different because you're talking big loans and stuff or leases. So I guess commission a month.
Yeah. If you want to go like the insurance route and say gross revenue, you slap a $35,000 solar tag on, maybe average for 100 plus. So it's like, is that 3.5 million per month in total gross revenue? From a manager standpoint, there's overrides, but like, there's certain months where guys are making and managers can make 6 figures in a month.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. Congrats to all the success on that. I remember when you reached out, like trying to get, I don't even remember how it was, on a deal, or you're asking about real estate. It was kind of when we shifted I was doing solar and moved into real estate, but you were calling me, I think, about just like creative finance deals, right? Like trying to figure out.
Yeah. Because I knew who you were. We followed a lot of the same people, because the whole recruiting tactic is just follow as many people in the solar industry. And I knew you worked for Legacy, because I used to work for Legacy. Spartan was the franchise partner for Legacy originally. But I knew who you were. I knew you sold. And then all of a sudden you started posting a bunch of real estate stuff. And at that same time, I was just trying to further my education on real estate. I had, and I'm sure we'll get into this, but I had been introduced to Jeff Mendez, who I've gotten really close with. And then Brody Fawcett, who has the real estate school. So I bought his course, and that's like how I really started getting into real estate. And then you popped up. I was listening to a lot of Pace Morby stuff, and Pace Morby is so smart that you're almost, oh my God, I can never get there. And then you started saying a lot of the same stuff. I'm like, okay, he's more on my level. Let me talk to him. Yeah, he likes it. So then that's kind of how I reached out.
That's funny. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's like that is funny to think like is that what you feel like whenever you're like watching Pace? Like this is just like too high level?
Oh, dude, he's so far into it,
Yeah.
that's like, I mean, yeah, you want to say if he can do it, I can.
Right.
But when you're entrenched in a different business, trying to learn just fundamentals and like, hey, do you think I can do this as a part of what I do? I don't
Yeah.
know, because
It is.
I've dedicated his life to it.
I know, especially when you see when someone's made it that big, is like he did so well around the brand because sub two has been happening, buying houses creatively, like taking over mortgages, seller finance. That's been happening for 50, like 100 years probably, right? Probably heavy though. Like people, I know guys that are mentors of me now in Texas that have been doing it since early 2000s, picking up, around that 2008 time too. So made huge money during all that with subject to, but yeah, he just really like took it to social media, branded it well, and obviously has done a ton of deals. But it's funny, I've learned it so much that I'm like, I just know it like the back of my hand, but people are so used to the traditional way of real estate that it's like, it sounds super high level, even though it's like it's just like almost easier. Like the concept is like, I'm just taking over their mortgage payment, helping them get out of that situation, but I can buy the house that way. So yeah, that was crazy. That was cool connecting. I remember, and I kind of want to go back to the success you had too, because you're like 4 years into the, door to door thing, which is actually cool that you made the switch. And then we got, like jumped over that. But I just had this conversation with Peter, who's like working with us full time. He had a sales job lined up right out of college, same situation, and was set to start in like mid-August. You guys can listen to the other podcasts I post with him too, but he worked with us for like 3 months. He's like, I want to figure this out. I know I'll like regret it if I like go do this sales job in 5 years. I look back what y'all have done. Like, I'm sure I would have had success in it. Like you would have killed it in medical sales, but it's like, you would have had that same thought. Is that like kind of how you thought? Like, how'd you make the switch of like, I just went a 5-year degree and then telling my parents, family, whoever else, like, nah, I'm just going to go knock doors.
I've thought about this a lot and I've talked about it a lot just through my journey in door to door. Like you have to explain to people why you do it and where you came from. I'm sure in leading a team, you just have to make people understand it's not that hard to get where you got, all that good stuff. But my parents were always commission only. My dad was a commercial real estate agent. My mom has done real estate her whole life. They've bought and flipped every single house I've ever lived in. So it's like, they used to do essentially wholesaling back in 2000, 2006, 7, 8, when the market was crazy in Florida. They were buying homes at the table and turning around and signing them to somebody else and just making the difference. Yeah. So new builds, stuff like that. So yeah, they've been in real estate for a long time, never worked for anybody. So when I started working for somebody, it was a little weird. And I really don't know. I mean, I went and shadowed somebody in door to door, saw it, and the story's pretty funny. I went and shadowed Alex, who's phenomenal door knocker. We blanked for 2 days, Friday, Saturday, no appointments, nothing. And I got home. I was driving back to Jacksonville from Orlando. I was like, oh, I can do that. Like, no problem. Like I was so inspired by the donut.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, 30 days straight of that. There's no way that not a single person will tell me yes. Like if I can get one person to say yes, it's what, $6-7 grand. Okay, cool. Right. I'd rather do that than work my other job, know exactly what I'm going to make when I can come out here and my minimum, like my absolute minimum was more than I was making right out of college. Right. So, I mean, it's a no brainer for me at that point. I mean, I don't know if I answered your exact question, but that was kind of
cool. I mean, it's cool to hear too, because I think you're probably in a much different perspective where both parents are doing commission roles and they're like, oh no, go get after it. Like most people are like, want you to do the safest thing. They're worried their kid's going to fail, or they just like think it's like some like low level, or you're going to go knock doors. But you met up with Alex, who those that don't know is like, CEO of a big, Spartan solar company. So it's like, how'd you connect with him? You just found him on social media, you said?
Yeah. So I actually had my social media deleted at the time. I had a post, or I had somebody send me that I should re-download it and look at his most recent post. So I did. I looked at it in the operating room. They were doing the surgery and I wasn't needed. So I was checking on my phone, reached out to him because we went to the same high school. Didn't know each other, but yeah, he was a senior when I was a freshman and I knew who he was. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, went to Jupiter, blah, 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 looking to check out what you're doing. Like, let's hop on a call. We hopped on a call. We started throwing solar numbers around once I started asking about numbers, which for anybody who doesn't understand what solar numbers are, he started asking me, hey, how much do you anticipate making this year? And he's like, oh yeah, I had a couple of guys make that last month. It's just like, I was like, nice. So yeah, I went down, I shadowed him, that whole thing happened. But the interesting thing is when I told my parents that I was going to quit the job, like it was almost a dream job. Like people die to get into medical sales. It's only who you know, industry, you get in, it's great money. And I told my parents I was going to quit that to go knock doors. And they're like, cool. Like, that's awesome. You're going to kill it. Because my dad, during the telecom boom, so like when the towers were being built for all the cell phones, he did door to door essentially. So he would go land parcel to land parcel, knocking on doors and asking them to lease their land for his cell phone tower for Sprint. So what he would do is, I mean, they'd pay them crazy amounts of money. They'd use the land for the cell phone tower, and the check sizes were crazy. So he was doing the same thing for an exploding market in telecom. So for him, it was the exact same, almost like word for word, the exact same thing. And he had a pretty interesting and nice presentation because it's like, hey, either the cell phone tower is going on your land or I'm putting it on your neighbors. So do you want the money or are you going to let them have the money? It's like, it's going some, you're going to see the tower. It's going to be right here. So let us put it on.
Same feeling with solar, I'm sure too, especially as it was like newer, because you started a little bit, not like too much before, like it was going on, but it was definitely earlier. And, I'm sure Spartan built and solar was starting to pop up everywhere. So yeah, that's crazy. The connection there though, like that he did that. He was just like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
That's definitely like a meant to be moment. My dad was in corporate sales, and it's like, he definitely wanted us to go make good grades and everything, but he's never opposed to me going to do it. He's like, whatever you think you're going to do, well, you're going to do it. But I definitely see the flip side, even recruiting. Like there's parents that are like, oh, you're not going to do that. Like we had to convince parents to let their kid come out.
Yeah, I feel bad for the people whose parents are like that, because it's just, I mean, one more barrier to get over in an industry that requires like complete and total just jump into it. You can't half-ass it when you get into the industry.
Right. You put a foot in, and you're going to be like, I tried for 4 days and I quit, because you're right. My parents said it was hard, and it was.
Yep, exactly.
That's cool though. So then they're always been in real estate. They're doing, he even did door to door. So I guess what I did want to go into too, because you obviously have amassed a team, you start building, growing, you're making probably, more money than you've ever seen, which is cool. But how did you start to figure out where I want to invest this? Because now you said you became kind of like looking into Jeff Mendez, Pace, all these different things. Like, was that immediately you knew you wanted to invest in real estate or no?
Yeah, I mean, I was originally like in stocks and stuff, and I just like hated looking at this stupid little line chart that would go up and down, and then your money's there and you can't get it. And if you want to get it, you got to pay a bunch in taxes, like if you hold it for less than a year, whatever those rules are. And what really got me interested in real estate was Mendez. So I was introduced to Jeff Mendez in 2022, I think. Mm-hmm. Alex hired him as a consultant for Spartan, and the relationship grew. And, now I consider him a close friend. We were out at his place for a party this past summer out in Utah. I got to spend a ton of time on his houseboat out in Lake Powell. And for those who don't know, Jeff Mendez is like one of the main guys who built Vivint to what it is.
One of the VPs that, just started door to door, really.
Yeah, I mean, they call him like the Godfather or Poppy or whatever they call him. I didn't get to experience any of that, but I heard he was a savage when he was doing it. And he's a savage now. He just applied all the stuff that he learned. He built crazy systems to scale Vivint, and he's done the same thing with his real estate. I mean, he owns like 40,000 doors across the United States, manufactured housing, apartment complexes. But yeah, I mean, we went on his boat. We got to learn a lot about real estate, just appreciation, depreciation, you have your cash flow, right? Like it's all these things, that the benefits that you can get from real estate, you can borrow against it, like a lot of different benefits compared to stocks. And it was just more my language because my parents did it and I understood a little bit like fix and flip, but Jeff opened my eyes to the concept of, the refinance once you add the value to the property, which we can dive into if you want. I'm in a couple deals with Jeff, a couple apartment complexes in Texas. But yeah, I mean, that was the main way we learned about real estate was just through Jeff. And then we met Brody Fawcett on Jeff's boat, who is a former Vivint guy who's like, he's like 31. He's got probably easily over $500,000 a year in passive income. It's crazy. He's living in Hawaii. It's just like balling out.
He was actually the first person. Yeah, he was like the first person. It was crazy because like he killed it in Vivint, and I started right when I started. I was listening to his podcast that they had on the Vivint's like their little own platform, and it was like the first like proof of concept for me, especially like him as a manager making good money, but like nothing to like what people are now. And he built it by like house hacking, just buying out one side, living the other, and just did it, and like built that up pretty quickly. But yeah, it was I've been following him ever since the beginning when he had like no followers on his stuff. It was cool to see.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, same thing. Like managers, I feel like that's the best route to go when you land on a team where they're like, okay, he's investing in someone like Jeff or Brody or whoever it is, and they're, now they're like, you have a reason, in my opinion. Like when I went and sold, I was like the top rookie at Vivint in our region that first year, but I swear it was only because I knew like exactly how much I needed to buy a rental, and I was like, if I can just like get as many deals as possible to get into real estate versus like, I don't know, the average person is just trying to make 10 grand that summer or 20 grand. But yeah, I feel like the best reps and teams have like some sort of like connection towards real estate. I don't know what it is.
And it definitely helped having Alex, and that was a big inspiration for me doing it. Is Alex was doing it, and he was obviously the CEO. And when you see somebody who's doing really well, putting their money somewhere, you want to put your money there as well. I mean, one of the main reasons that people like Warren Buffett is he is really good at doing what he does. So a lot of people just follow what he does. It's like you don't have to recreate the wheel. Like success is going to leave clues. Just follow them.
Yeah. I completely, that's door to door right there. You just shadow someone, copy and paste. He just did that. I'm going to do the exact same thing and just repeat it.
Yeah, cheating is encouraged. It's not high school, right? So just literally do what other people did.
Exactly. That's exactly what I did in every industry, starting in alarms, copy and paste, solar. I'm like, okay, if they say exactly this, I want to know exact objections you have when they say this, and then you just repeat it. But yeah, same thing in real estate. I want to go in that one deal though that you did do, because I know you had a really successful deal that you purchased that was pretty cool. And it's not even like, we do a lot of creative finance, right? So we're not looking for, we don't need a loan necessarily. We're taking over financing. It doesn't require a deal. One, you have a lot of capital that you're making, but now you find what fourplex.
It was I guess I give the background of how that ended up. If I didn't go on that boat with Jeff.
Really?
Yeah, weirdly enough, because Jeff got really excited about real estate, met Brody, invested in his fundamentals of real estate. And then I am out a lot of money investing, right? I'm not just investing to learn. I need to actually go out and try to buy some real estate. So then I had to do. He started teaching me how to do lead generation, submit offers, and that was when I was out in Texas. Doing that, seeing what I could find. My friend's mom was a real estate agent, or grew up in college. Contacted her. I knew that there were some areas in St. I sent her a property. It's funny enough, like I had all these ways of getting leads, and I found property in St. Augustine is a duplex, over 100 years old, a city in the country, and they had fallen through 500 grand. So I contacted Sandy, my friend's mom, and his house needs some work for sure. But my dad's a contractor, so now he does, like I said, he personally has flipped like. So he did that my whole life. So I had him go up and check it out. And he's like, okay. So I went through my fix and flip guy who I had, and the hard money lender was like, it works. The margins work. So it was 95. I played the sympathy card. It was an investor, seasoned investor. He's got like $7 million worth of real estate walls. Like, I'm trying not to get screwed. It's 100 plus years old. So 3-night took it. Yeah. So I took it, or 405.
Yeah.
So I bought it for my appraised value after repairs. So I had to give my hard money. They sent an appraiser out with that scope of work, and they valued it at 1.1 million. So and probably I'll end up putting, I got all my electrical for free. I got all my, drills for free. So a lot of my things came from connections that I had in the area. Builders. So, we'll probably be on at like 200 repair.
About 6.
Yeah.
And it appraises at 1.1 mil.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that's the full add value. Now you've just boosted all this equity. And did you sell? I can't remember.
Yeah. So, then you take out conventional financing, and then now the down payment is the equity, the sweat equity. Initial investment back out, you have $220,000 of poop. So you like tripled the initial investment.
Yeah. And now you're renting it on Airbnb or long-term rental or what?
Airbnb.
And is it multiple units, 2 units?
Nightly rentals, which in St. Augustine is pretty rare. They're usually weekly rentals. So it's a zone for
full
right
Airbnb.
next to Dolly that brings you downtown.
Wow. So it kills it. We're done like a deal like specifically like that just because I feel like we do so much creative finance, we wholesale, we flip, but to get something that one you can like people say BRRRR, basically you're buying it, you're renovating it. That's that's huge for that. You pull out a ton of equity, it cash flows, it's Airbnb, that works. But
I must say, like, that for me moving forward, I'm good. Like, I way easier. Think about and just like, hey, what's up with this deal? Explain the details. This is how much it would be. Here's expected cash flow.
So we can get into that.
It's impossible. It's almost impossible. Like, I'm on a blitz signing papers at a Starbucks like 20 minutes before my flight out of LAX. It was insane. Like yourself as a professional at what you're doing, like just leverage that and staying. You'll end up with none. That old Hicks law. More things focused on, slower you are to react. Else's job, which is I'd rather, if I go back in time, yeah, it's great.
Right. And the one that we did, because we'll kind of close out with it. We always buy a lot ourselves. A lot of them are wholesaling. Sometimes we're like, all right, we're just going to take this down with a partner. Once finally get all these like liens removed, stop the foreclosure. It's like a 2.5% interest. Yeah, we're going to furnish it, put it on Airbnb, and it's a $2,000 $55, $270 on the property. It's worth about $350, kind of depending on what the market's doing right now. No HOA, so I was like, this is going to do great on short-term rental. It already has a pool, so we threw a bleed on it, but threw like sauna in there, hot tub, just decked it out. But you partnered. You brought the capital. We brought the whole deal and all the legwork, and then now we just split the equity. That like did you just show up with notary and sign docs, pretty much, send a wire?
Yeah, Starbucks. I was on another blip handling it. It's really simple, and I feel we've never met in person, but what you do allows people to have trust in what you're doing, and just I don't know, something about door to door, the grind. Like, I trust you. So at the end of the day, like, if the number's pretty easy for me because I lived in Dallas. I know Carrollton. So yeah, no debt in my name. Like, why? Why wouldn't you? If you're going to get a good cash on cash.
Right.
There's nothing that really can beat that.
Yeah, those deals are fun. It's like, we'll get ones where like, I don't know, we got so much on our plate. And then I'm like, I know I'm going to look back in 5 years. It's like, everyone's always like, should have bought it, should have held. Like,
Yeah. And especially if you have a lot of deals in the city, that seems a lot harder, but it seems like a lot of deals have been in Texas or Oklahoma in that area. So they're more concentrated geographically, but
yeah, we market all across Texas. Like half our deal makes sense. I mean, you can always find connections just like what you did and, find someone in that area, but it's like in the same state. So
yeah, absolutely. And then Ben, I have to jump off here in like 5 minutes.
I think that was about it. I appreciate you hopping on. Cool to hear all the success stories. I'm sure you're going to do too. Let us know if you got any other deals you're trying to get done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where can people, do you do stuff on social media or do you want to shout anything out?
I'm really not that big on social media. I try to stay off it, but it's just Zach Crowder.
We got the same app. We use Opal, right?
Yeah. No, I've been on it. I delete it and I have Opal. So I have to re-download the app and then unlock it via Opal to use it. So it's like I'm trying never to use it.
Yeah. It just takes up so much time. I love that. It's hard for me sometimes, but I still block like 90% of the day. So
yeah.
All righty. Well, I appreciate it. Have a good rest of the holidays, New Year's. Thanks for coming on.
Well. Appreciate you, Ben.